Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Storytime with Rob. It is a beautiful morning. I know I say that a lot, but for some reason the mornings are just awesome this year. And it is supposed to be super hot today, but it's overcast right now. I just can't believe how nice it is. Anyway, I hope you're having a great week, and today's story is a good one, and many of you are going to figure this out, but I might stump a few of you, but see if you can get it before we get to the end. It is something definitely when we finish up, all of you will know it. Um, and I can guarantee you you've heard it before, but you may not have heard the backside of this. So here we go. This one is called All in the Family. For many, the process of research and development is all in the family. For the Currys, for Masters and Johnson, and so it was for Jacob and Wilhelm. They were scholars, researchers. Although they died while working on a 32-volume dictionary, a monument to their tireless scholarly efforts, it is another piece of research, however, for which we remember them most. They were boys in college, Jacob and Wilhelm, when their interest in history was first aroused, in a way that you might say they were the first psychological anthropologists, the first to explore the relation of folklore to human history. They pursued the writings of Homer, presumably fiction, discovered their impact and the possible links to fact. Perhaps they decided other legends might shed new light on the greater story of man, the true story. Some such legends had been previously collected, published, but many others had never been written down. This was the elusive category called oral tradition. And only a few aged peasants here and there remember them. And when they died, the stories, some dating back 1,000 years, would die with them. So when Jacob was 22 and Wilhelm 21, pretty young guys, the two set out to record these legends, to seek their tellers before they and their stories vanished forever. These young men were scholars, remember, and their quest was one of historical relevance. So they were, perhaps, at first, amazed by what they found in the beginnings of their research. But then the chore began to cheer them. With the passing of each day, the people they met proved most interesting indeed. A shepherd was happy to spend an afternoon spinning old yarns for a bottle of wine. An old cavalry sergeant, come upon hard times, told a few more in return for a patched pair of pants. One woman, living in a home for the aged, was hesitant to talk to them. If she were overheard telling her stories to anyone but children, she said, they might lock her up for a mad woman, she said. So Wilhelm got a friend to take along his children as an audience for the old woman, while Wilhelm listened and took notes behind a curtain. Pretty sneaky guy. The best story source turned out to be a tailor's wife. Not only did she tell her stories well, but she told them each time in exactly the same words. If she spoke too quickly and was asked to repeat, she would retell them slowly without changing a word. After 5 hard but happy years, Jacob and Wilhelm had collected 86 stories, but at the last they were unable to draw any particular historical significance from them at all. So the manuscripts were shelved and might still be there today were it not for a friend who discovered them and insisted that they be published. Arrangements were made with a printer in Berlin, and a few days before Christmas of 1812, that's a long time ago, the first edition of Jakob and Wilhelm's stories went on sale. Expecting so little, they accepted no money at first, and at last took only a pittance for their stories. At no time in their subsequent careers as librarians and professors did they have a year's income equivalent to more than $5,000. And yet, their little book of stories would one day sell 1 billion copies in 20,000 editions, would be translated into 50 languages in 40 different countries. And today, a century and a half later, their little volume, get this, is second only to the Bible as most famous, most widely read, most generally remembered stories. They were brothers Jakob and Wilhelm. Like George and Ira, Wilbur and Orville, they kept it all in the family. But such was the magnitude of Jakob and Wilhelm's last name that you only remember them by. And if the historical relevance of their first work together less than pleased them, their stories have since pleased 150 years of children. Stories like Hansel and Gretel, and Snow White, Cinderella, and Tom Thumb. Yep, for the book they called Tales of Children and the Hearth, you know as Grimm's Fairy Tales. And now you know the Brothers Grimm and the rest of their story. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm sure many of you probably figured it out before we got to the end, but it's nice to hear some of the historical significance behind those stories. I would encourage you, because I love stories, obviously, to write down some of those stories that you've had in your life, some of your family, whatever. Record those, because as they said, once those people die, those stories are gone forever. So record them, pass them on to your family, friends, keep a history. Thank you again for joining me. Have a beautiful day, and until tomorrow, be safe.